Yo, babies. Just wondering why we're so late. Why are we late with building robots, folks? Then we had this guy from Israel come in. We found Dark Side of the Rainbow, which is tight. He's gonna like that, I think. All right, folks. What day is it? It is 26th of Shabbat, 5786. Friday, February 13th. Friday the 13th. All right, now what? We've got all that bullshit we gotta read. No one really knows for sure. Elu ve'elu divrei Elokim chayim. But this is the Mazorah we live by. Really? I mean, do whatever you want, baby. Zurus means problems. I got 99 Zurus seen, but a bitch ain't one. Chilazone sounds like a fucking Pokemon. Murex, Chunkulus, Golus, that's fucking Jews in exile, diaspora. Gay Kakin Afenyan, Lek Tis Dayan. That motherfucker didn't even know the largest statue in Israel is of Elvis. May Hashem bless you and guard you. Who did the thing? May Hashem bless you and guard you. May Hashem shine his face upon you and be gracious to you. May Hashem lift his face to you and grant you peace. Akin ani madabar ivrit ber bekar ivrit mikra'it ashe be fo'al Hanaknu amurim ladaber Yiddish o ulai aramit Shegam otad adi yakol ladaber bemida mezu yemet aval ani ma'adif anglit lakin bo'u ladaber anglit ze nishma tov lecha. Dude, do the thing. Really? Dude, we're adding too much to this shit. Oh, how about what is this shit? Dog. Garbage. You guys don't know how to dance, but they like the Blues Brothers. Nagila Hava, Nagila Hava, Nagila Venis Mecha Hava, Nagila Hava, Nagila Hava, Nagila Venis Mecha Hava Neranena, Hava Neranena, Hava Neranena, Venis Mecha Hava Neranena, Hava Neranena, Hava Neranena, Venis Mecha Uru, Uru Achim, Urachim, Amitabim, Urachim, Berasemeyak, Urachim, Berasemeyak, Urachim, Berasemeyak, Urachim, Urachim, Lusabeyak, hey, Hava, Nagia, Hava, Nagila, Hava, Nagila, hey, Mishnecha, Hava, Nagila, Hava, Nagila, Hava, Nagila, hey, Mishnecha, Hava Negarina, Hava Neranina, Hava Neranina, Venismecha, Hava Neranina, Hava Neranina, Hava Neranina, Venismecha, Uru, Uru, Nakin, Semeyak, Urakim, Benasemeyak, Uraki, Semeyak, Urakim, Benasemeyak, Urakim. Oh, that was tight. Okay. Oh, getting a late start. Yeah, but I created this fucking bot that's gonna change shit. Really? I think so. So, what are these Israelis really fucking interested in? How I'm able to use electronics on Shabbat. Well, I have calluses on my hand that, like, there's an oil, like, so I'm not really touching anything. Really? Dog. My friends would be like, really? Oh, fuck, man. They'd be like, what would they say? You hold your own with Israelis really well. I'd be like, I know. They'd be like, what's that like? I'd be like, it ain't easy. The Sabra is a bitch. Really? I'd be like, uh-huh. They'd be like, you know any fucking Israeli chicks? I'd be like, uh-huh. And I rejected them. Really? Mm-hmm. Why? I'm too good for them. What do you want me to do about it? Really? They'd be like, really hot? Uh-huh. Really? Yeah, really. I'm gonna make these bitches famous. Really? Why not? Alright, quit sucking your own dick. Wiki audio. Hold on, do we have anything else to review? Oh yeah, this is Kabbalah and coffee and Kabbalah. Everything sucks. For how long have we been doing this, bitch? 48 days? Really? 49 days? Alright. You keep saying alright. Oh shit, no. We got Yiddish. Do you use it? Fuck yeah. I'd be like, dude, I use this fucking Yiddish every fucking day. It's like word of the day. Like when I use it with people, they're like, really? Oh, what did you use? Bashert? Basherta? Really? Yeah, I'm sick as fuck. Alright, there's Amachai. What is that? It's something so pleasant, folk can bring back the dead. Halavai. Um, that's like the thing. What is it? I wish your father. Yenta. It's a talkative bitch, kind of a fetish of mine. Talkless brass tacks. I use that with that motherfucker. But sure, I used or Notch eating pussy, really snacking on it. But sure, I use that. What is that? Soulmate, Basherda. I'm so glad he likes fucking Blues Brothers Israel. That motherfucker has great taste in music. Great taste. Really? Yeah. If Apple ever comes in this bitch again, which I think he will, I think I made a friend with him. He should know he has great taste in music. Mishmash, it's a mixture. Bupkis, that's um, Bupkis. It's like nothing, but it's beans. Good yotem. That's uh, what is it? It's for life. To life. Power neutral, glad kosher, smooth. Mensch. It's like this motherfucker. It's a good dude. What's a woman? Zedekas, Froy, Eshad Chayil, Gittel, close to there. Shkoyach, that's Yasher Koach, which is shortened of Yasher Kokaka. May your strength be directed forward, which became Yasher Koach, which then became Skoyach. Oive, that means like, oh dear. Milchig, Fleischig, Parav. Milchig is dairy, Fleischig is meat, Parav is neutral. Heimish or Hamish, that's homie. Shmata, Shmata's rags. Schwigger's mother-in-law. Chazer, that's a fucking pig. Or Chazir is a pig. Chazer means to repeat. Schlep, means to carry a burden, but it can also mean travel. Meshuga, I like this one. Meshuga, borrowed from Hebrew meshuga means crazy in Yiddish. It can also be pronounced meshuga, or even meshugi. Other related words: a person who is meshuga is called a meshuganer. Many such people are meshugoyim, a corruption of Hebrew and meshugayim, a word that is completely unrelated to the word goyim, Hebrew Yiddish for Gentiles. A craze is called the meshugas. Meshugas. Meshuga in a sentence. So if you want to say, hey wackos, that lunatic is making me nuts with his craziness, it would be accurate to say, hey meshugoyim, that meshuganer is making me meshugar with his meshugas. Going meshuga in the Bible. In the list of curses that will befall Israel if they stray from the Torah, we read, you will be meshuga from the vision before your eyes that you will behold. But being meshuga is not all negative. Indeed, prophets are referred to as meshuga in Scripture. For example, Jehu went to Jehu went out to the master's servants and one said to him, is all well? Why did this meshuga come to you? Why is the prophet referred to as meshuga? Here's how Rambam describes the experience of prophets receiving prophecy. Their limbs tremble, their physical powers become weak, they lose control of their senses, and thus their minds are free to comprehend what they see. Rabbi David Kimchi, also known as also known by the acronym Radak, explains that they would call a prophet Meshuggah because at times during the prophecy he would act like a Meshuggah who had left his senses. The Hasidic masters explain that as the prophets leave their senses behind, they ascend to the same level as Adam before he sinned by eating from the tree of knowledge. Thus, their Meshuggahs did not place them below their rational peers, but above their conventions of common knowledge, the village Meshuggah. So let's conclude with a Hasidic story. Like all towns and cities, the town of Lubavitch was blessed with the presence of a Meshuggah. He was well loved by the townspeople who appreciated the fine qualities of the village fool. But he was just one Meshuggah in a small town, and he sometimes felt lonely. One day, he was invited to move to the larger city of Vitebsk, which where there would be more Meshuggahim for him to hang out with. On one hand, he was tempted by the offer. On the other hand, how could he leave the shtetl town with no resident Meshuggah? Like all denizens of Lubavitch, the Meshuggah knew that the big questions in life must be discussed with the Rebbe, Rabbi Shmuel of Lubavitch, also known as the Rebbe Maharash. But the Rebbe's secretary refused to give him an appointment. After all, he was a bona fide Meshuggah. Undeterred, the wily Meshuggah waited until the Rebbe was going out of town, as he often did for his health. As the Rebbe's wagon passed by, the Meshuggah leapt aboard the lay. As the Rebbe's wagon passed by, the Meshuggah leapt aboard and laid out his dilemma for the Rebbe. The Rebbe advised him to remain in Lubavitch, since the town needed him to be their Meshuggah, and in Vitebsk he would be one of many Meshuggahim. After he jumped off the wagon with a satisfied grin, the Meshuggah was almost immediately surrounded by Chassidim who wanted to know what he had discussed with the Rebbe. He gladly shared with them with his dilemma and the Rebbe's advice. But you are Meshuggah, marveled one of the Chassidim. How do you know to ask and follow the Rebbe's advice? Meshuggah, he replied sagely. But sheikel, common sense you must have. Editor's note. After this article was published, many of you raised the important issue of mental illness and how it relates to what we have written. Thank you for bringing this up. Mental illness is a serious condition, and in no way did we intend to trivialize it or make light of those who live with it. Regarding the artwork, the image is indeed disturbing, but perhaps that is a good thing, honest introspection, leading our readers to honest introspection as it has for us. Where's the picture? That looks just like I do. Really? Oh, actually, he kind of creepy looking, but I don't know. I kind of look like that motherfucker. Really? Dog? I think so. All right, now what? My portal to Israel needs to continue. Everybody is like, so how are you able to use electronics on Shabbat? Dog, where do they talk about electricity in Shabbat aside from lightning? Well, but we do it this way and this way. Hey, dude, guess what? Ever think you could be wrong? Okay. Now what? Now we've got to read some asshole's biography. Why? Why not, baby? Dog. You think everybody would want to see if your fucking thing was working? Yeah, it's playing Jewish shit. Really? I mean, it should be. Michael Zuckerdouche. Push Kardashian. 5,000 fucking. How long are these? It's long. Wow. Oh, they've got everybody in there. All right. All right, now what? You're doing your own thing. Just focus. All right, we've got. Viral pimp. Is it that one? No. What is it? Oh no. No, it's not that one. Poontang pimp. 5 hours ago. What is it? No facial? No. What is it? Guilt facials? No. Soft drinker? Oh, it looks like it's soft drinker. Is it working? Yeah.
Made a wall fall down when Moses softened Pharaoh's heart. That everything is going to be alright. Here in the home I love.
I use my hands so much when I talk. Okay, maybe that thing's fucking working. What the fuck happened here? Maybe it's working. Calm down. You built a good bot, man. Let it do its thing. Should we ban these people? Yeah, they're gonna be fucking with other people. Alright, they're yelling or something. Are they yelling at Mrs. Claris? I don't know. Modern teachers of Mississippi. We're not going through all these. Why? Oh, maybe we should. Actually, we probably should. Can we go through one per day? I mean, we'll see.
Aryeh Moshe Eliyahu, Leonard, Kaplan, Hebrew, October 23rd, 1934, January 28, 1983, was an American Orthodox rabbi, author, and translator best known for his living Torah edition of the Torah and extensive Kabbalistic commentaries. He became well known as a prolific writer and was lauded as an original thinker. His wide-ranging literary output, inclusive of introductory pamphlets on Jewish beliefs, and philosophy written at the request of NCSY are often regarded as significant factors in the growth of the Baal Teshuvah movement. Early life. Aryeh Kaplan was born as Leonard Martin Kaplan in the Bronx, New York City, to Samuel and Fanny N.E. Lackman, Kaplan of the Sephardi Recanati family from Salonika, Greece. His mother died on December 31st, 1947, when he was 13, and his two younger sisters, Sandra and Barbara, were sent to a foster home. Kaplan was expelled from public school after acting out, leading him to grow up as a street kid in the Bronx. Kaplan did not grow up religious, and was known as Lamb. His family had only a slight connection to Jewish practice, but he was encouraged to say Kaddish for his mother. On his first day at the minyan, Henoch Rosenberg, a 14-year-old Klausenberger Hasid, realized that Len was out of place. He was not wearing tefillin or opening a siddur and befriended him. Henoch Rosenberg and his siblings taught Kaplan Hebrew, and within a few days, Kaplan was learning Chumash. When he was 15, Kaplan enrolled at Yeshiva Torah Vadas, and at age 18, from January 1953 until June 1953, was among a small cadre of Talmidim selected to help Rabbi Simcha Wasserman open Yeshiva Or Elchanan, a new yeshiva in Los Angeles. After his time in Los Angeles, Kaplan had a few small jobs including teaching at a Hebrew school in the Bronx and at Beth Torah in Richmond, Virginia, February 1955. In January 1956, Kaplan went to Israel to study at the Mir in Jerusalem. That year, he received Semika, rabbinic ordination from some of Israel's foremost poskim, including Yitzhak HaLevi Herzog and Eliezer Yehuda Finkel. Secular career. Upon returning from Israel in August of 1956, Kaplan became a Hebrew teacher at Eliyahu Academy in Louisville, Kentucky, and beginning in the 1957 fall semester studied at University of Louisville, where he joined Sigma Pi Sigma, the Woodcock Society, and Phi Kappa Phi, and eventually completed his bachelor's degree in physics on June 11, 1961. While in Louisville, he met Toby Goldstein, whom he married on June 13, 1961, and with whom he had 9 children. Kaplan then moved to Hyattsville, Maryland, in 1961 to study physics at the University of Maryland and begin his first professional position as a research scientist at the National Bureau of Standards' Fluid Mechanics Division, where he was in charge of magnetohydrodynamics research. Kaplan earned his MS degree in physics from University of Maryland in 1963. After graduating, Kaplan remained at University of Maryland as a National Science Foundation Fellow through the fall semester of 1964. Rabbinic career. In 1965, Kaplan switched careers and began practicing as a rabbi. In his book Encounters, Kaplan wrote that when asked why he switched from his scientific career to the rabbinate, he said God had a mission for me. His career here divides between pulpit roles initially, and other roles thereafter when based in Brooklyn, New York. Kaplan is mentioned in Igros Moshe. He asked of and received a response from Moshe Feinstein regarding the matter of permitting enabling a youth minyan to which parents would drive children on Shabbos. Pulpit roles. Brooklyn. In 1971, Kaplan moved to Brooklyn, New York, where he lived until the end of his life. 1983, Kaplan did not hold any positions there as a pulpit rabbi, but had many other roles which involved, chiefly, writing and editing religious publications. In the 1970s, Kaplan served in the unofficial capacity of the spiritual advisor for NCSY's Brooklyn region. He would converse with teenagers and answer their questions, whether in his home or at drawn-out NCSY conventions where Aryeh Kaplan was the last adult standing. He would also deliver lectures at his home in Kensington, which many locals would regularly attend. He also served as the rabbinic consultant for the play Yintel, after the director met him on the Staten Island ferry. When asked about his association with the play containing nudity and a woman dressed as a man, Kaplan was quoted to have said it is an abomination, but so what? Sigh. Kaplan was involved with NCSY as an author, speaker, and spiritual mentor. Pinchas Stolpers wrote in his introduction to the Aryeh Kaplan anthology how he discovered Kaplan. I first encountered this extraordinary individual when by chance I spotted his article on immortality in the Soul and Intercom, the journal of the Association of Orthodox Jewish Scientists, and was taken by his unusual ability to explain a difficult topic, one usually reserved for advanced scholars, a topic almost untouched previously in English with such simplicity that it could be understood by any intelligent reader. It was clear to me that his special talent could fill a significant void in English Judaica. I always counted as one of my greatest sichusim, a spiritual merit granted by God, to have had the privilege of discovering Rabbi Kaplan, and once we met, we became lifelong friends. When I invited Rabbi Kaplan to write on the concept of tefillin for the Orthodox Union's National Conference of Synagogue Youth, NCSY, he completed the 96-page manuscript of God, Man and Tefillin with sources and footnotes from the Talmud, Midrash and Zohar in less than 2 weeks. The book masterful, comprehensive, inspiring yet simple set a pattern which was to characterize all of his succeeding works. Breslov. Kaplan became involved with Breslov through Rabbi Zvi Aryeh Rosenfeld. In 1973, Rabbi Kaplan translated Rebbe Nachman's Wisdom, one of Breslov's most important works, into English on Rabbi Zvi Rosenfeld's request. Kaplan also translated and annotated 2 other books, Until the Mashiach, The Life of Rabbi Nachman, a day-to-day account of Rebbe Nachman's life, and Rabbi Nachman's Tikkun, based on the Tikkun HaKlali. Kaplan was also involved in preserving Rabbi Nachman of Breslov's grave. In 1979, the government in Uman was planning on demolishing the cemetery containing Rabbi Nachman's grave so they could build housing over it. Rabbis Michel Dorfman and Nassim Maimon of Breslov contacted Rabbi Moshe Scherer of the Good of Israel of America, who connected them with Rabbi Pinchas Teets, who then introduced them to Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan. Using a manual typewriter, Kaplan put together a presentation there on the spot with maps of Ukraine to show exact longitude and latitude. Rabbi Teets then sent the presentation to Robert Lifshitz, and less than 2 weeks later, after Jimmy Carter met with Leonid Brezhnev at the Strategic Arms Limitation Conference in Vienna, the Soviet ambassador to the U.S. stated that the Kremlin has decided to honor the plan as originally scheduled, except for Vilinsky Street. That yard will remain untouched, and it was declared an international shrine. Literary output. Kaplan produced works on topics as varied as prayer, Jewish marriage and meditation. His writing incorporated ideas from across the spectrum of rabbinic literature, Kabbalah, and Hasidut, all without ignoring science. The concise and detail-orientated character of his works have been described as reflective of his physicist training. In researching his books, Kaplan once remarked, I use my physics background to analyze and systematize data, very much as a physicist would deal with physical reality. From 1976 onward, Kaplan worked to translate Meme Lo's Torah anthology, which was originally written in Ladino and in time edited for Hebrew. 1967, Kaplan was described as working with his typewriter, the Meme Lo's in Ladino on one side of him and the Hebrew version on the other side, and he'd look from one to the other and back again, comparing and contrasting and typing away furiously the entire time. Shortly before his death, he completed the Living Torah, an original translation of the 5 books of Moses and the Haftarah. Kaplan was described by Rabbi Pinchas Stolper, his original sponsor, as never fearing to speak his mind. He saw harmony between science and Judaism, where many others saw otherwise. He put forward creative and original ideas and hypotheses, all the time anchoring them in classical works of rabbinic literature. Death. Kaplan died at his home of a heart attack on January 28, 1983, at the age of 48. He was buried at the Mount of Olives Jewish Cemetery in Jerusalem. Legacy. Kaplan's Living Torah was posthumously followed by a work written by others for the rest of the Bible, The Living Nog, published in 3 volumes in the 1990s. His works continue to be read, and his extensive references are used as a resource. His works have been translated into Czech, French, Hungarian, Modern Hebrew, Portuguese, Russian, German, and Spanish. In 2021, NCSY republished Kaplan's works. The Aryeh Kaplan Academy Day School in Louisville, Kentucky, is named in honor of Kaplan. Bibliography. Religious works. Release dates. Academic papers. While a graduate student studying physics at the University of Maryland, Rabbi Kaplan published 2 academic papers. See also. References. Rabbi Avraham Brandwein, Hebrew, died February 20th, 2013, Admir of Stretton, was an Israeli Kabbalah scholar. Family and early life. Brandwein's family includes many Hasidic masters, including the Maggid of Mezrich, Elimelech of Lysensk, and Levi Yitzchak of Berdichev, and he was directly descended from the first Admir of Stretton. Brandwein was born in Israel, the 7th generation in his family to live there. His family originally settled in Tzfat, the city of Kabbalists. His father, Rav Yehuda Tzavi, was the Family and early life. Brandwine's family includes many Hasidic masters, including the Maggid of Mezrich, Elimelech of Lishensк and Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev, and he was directly descended from the first Admiral of Stretton. Brandwine was born in Israel, the seventh generation in his family to live there. His family originally settled in Tzfat, the city of Kabbalists. His father, Rav Yehuda Tzavi, was the previous Admiral and a scholar of Kabbalah. Brandwine served in the Israel Defense Forces in artillery and was among the soldiers that crossed the Suez Canal into Egypt during the Yom Kippur War. Ordination. Brandwine was ordained as a rabbi by Gedolim representing the entire Orthodox community in Israel, and also holds an MA the integrated Charity life with active participation in the life of the modern state. Brandwine served as a rabbi in the Absorption and Immigration Department of the Jewish Agency, providing spiritual assistance to recent immigrants. Teaching and writing. From 1985, Brandwine taught Torah and Chassidut throughout Israel. He edited more than 20 volumes of classical Kabbalistic texts. He established a yeshiva in the Jewish quarter of the Old City of Jerusalem where he taught Kabbalah. He wrote the book The Essence of Religion and Its Purpose Commentary by Or Hadash Hebrew for New Light. Book title in Hebrew Metatah Dav Matrada, based on Rav Ashlag's article of the same name. Death. Brandwine died on February 20th, 2013. Hebrew date lunar calendar is 10th of Adar, age 67, in the Hadassah Medical Center in Ein Kerem in Jerusalem. After several months' illness, he was buried in the Mount of Olives Jewish Cemetery, next to his wife, Tzipporah, who had died 4 years earlier. References. Rabbi Menachem Froman, also spelled Menachem and Fruman, Hebrew, June 1st, 1945, March 4th, 2013, was an Israeli Orthodox rabbi, and a peacemaker and negotiator with close ties to Palestinian religious leaders, a founding member of Gush Emunim. He served as the chief rabbi of Tekoa in the West Bank. He was well known for promoting and leading interfaith dialogue between Jews, Christians and Muslims, focusing on using religion as a tool and source for recognizing the humanity and dignity of all people. Together with the Palestinian journalist close to Hamas, Rabbi Froman drafted a ceasefire agreement between Israel and the Hamas government in the Gaza Strip, known as the Froman-Amira Agreement. The agreement was endorsed by the Hamas government, but it did not receive any official response from the Israeli government. Career. Froman, a former Israeli paratrooper who took part in the 1967 capture of the Western Wall, was a student of the Merkaz Harav and Yeshivat HaKadol Yeshivas. He was among the founders of the Gush Emunim settlement movement and supported the establishment of Jewish settlements in the West Bank and Gaza Strip. He obtained rabbinical ordination from Rabbi Shlomo Goren and Avraham Shapir and then became the rabbi of Migdal Oz, a settlement in the Gush Etzion area. He was chief rabbi of the Knesset. He taught at several yeshivas, including Adaret Kohanim and Makan Meir, and was a lecturer at the Tekoa Yeshiva and Otniel Hester Yeshiva. Views and ideologies. Interfaith meetings and dialogue. Froman was involved in interfaith dialogue with Palestinians and Muslims and participated in informal negotiations with many Palestinian leaders as he argued that peacemaking efforts between Israelis and Palestinians must include the religious sectors of both societies. Froman conducted meetings with controversial Palestinian leaders, including with the late PLO chairman and president of Palestinian National Authority Yasser Arafat, and the Hamas leader Sheikh Ahmed Yassin and Mahmoud al-Zahar. Froman had close ties with Palestinian leaders, as evidenced by a letter he sent to Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas about his last conversation with Yasser Arafat. I remember my last conversation with him, close to his death, when he answered me with emotion, "You are my brother," and of course it is possible to explain his emotion, that he wanted to tell me, close to his death, that the two nations, the Israelis and the Palestinians, are brothers, that if the fate of one improves so does the fate of its double. The president customarily would thank me for these blessings and would order that these blessings be publicized in the Palestinian newspaper so that the Palestinian nation will know that there are Jewish rabbis who are blessing them with blessings of peace. After the election of the Hamas government in the Gaza Strip, Froman stepped up his efforts to organize meetings between Israeli and Palestinian religious leaders. He met and conducted negotiations with current Hamas leader Mahmoud al-Zahar and Hamas's Minister for Jerusalem Affairs, Sheikh Mahmoud Abu Tir, with the goal of drafting a ceasefire agreement that will end the killings in Gaza and the West Bank and lift the blockade imposed by Israel on the Gaza Strip. Froman-Amira Agreement, 2008. In February 2008, Froman reached a proposed agreement with Khalid Amira, a journalist close to Hamas, for an Israeli-Hamas ceasefire in the Gaza Strip that would put an immediate end to all Palestinian attacks against Israeli civilians or soldiers, facilitate the release of abducted Israeli soldier Gilad Shalit, and end the Israeli siege of the Gaza Strip. Senior Hamas officials have endorsed the agreement proposal. The Israeli government, however, did not respond to this initiative, effectively rejecting it. Froman drafted the agreement proposal with Amira after meeting with him over the course of several months. The paper was finalized and shown to Hamas leaders in Gaza, and Hamas leader in exile Khalid Mashal, who approved of it. The proposal was also submitted to the Israeli government, but according to Froman, the Israeli government never responded to it. The efforts of Froman and Amira to meet with Israeli government officials were rebuffed. The proposal called for Israel to lift economic sanctions imposed on the Gaza Strip and open all border crossings. The ceasefire agreement included the release of abducted Israeli soldier Gilad Shalit and the gradual release of Palestinian prisoners. The Israel Defense Forces would have ended all hostile activities toward the Gaza Strip, including targeted killings, the setting of ambushes, aerial bombardments, and all penetrations into Gazan territory, in addition to ending the arrest, detention, and persecution of Palestinians in the Strip. The Palestinians would have been obligated to take all the necessary steps to completely end the attacks against Israel, including stopping indefinitely all rocket attacks on Israel, assaults on Israeli civilians and soldiers, and to impose a ceasefire on all groups, factions, and individuals operating in the Strip. Along with Amira, Froman said that even if the attempt turned out to be a mere academic exercise, its elements could be used by the Jerusalem and Gaza governments. It did not, for example, include the recognition by Hamas of the State of Israel, instead recognizing that there are Jews living in the Holy Land, according to Froman, thus overcoming an obstacle that has long been a deal breaker. Importance of religion in the peace process lamented the early 21st century violence in Israel and the Palestinian territories, and laid partial blame for the failure of the Oslo Accords on the tendency of Israeli and Palestinian secular negotiators to ignore and marginalize religion and religious leaders in the peace process. Ahmed Yassin told me about the Oslo Accords that they were an agreement between our heretics and your heretics to subdue religion. The Oslo Accords collapsed because the PLO could not control the other forces. Hamas has the power to enforce agreements to end violence. Even Arafat could not control and enforce agreements on murderous units in his organization and in Hamas. But if Hamas has a strong enough interest for a ceasefire, they can enforce it. It's not easy, because in the Palestinian society there are many groups and resistance committees, and also plain underworld figures. But if there will be a coalition with the PLO and Hamas to achieve a ceasefire, the chances of ending the shooting of Qassam rockets on Scared are much better. Our primary goal should be achieving a ceasefire. Christians need to negotiate with politicians, and the rabbis negotiate with the religious leaders. Jerusalem. Froman supported making Jerusalem, the capital of Israel, also claimed by the Palestinians as their capital, the religious capital of all three monotheistic faiths. In November 1999, he participated in a conference with dozens of international religious leaders, including the Dalai Lama. In his 2005 letter to Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas, Froman cited examples from Jewish tradition of the importance of sharing Jerusalem between all three religions and turning it into a city of peace. From the difficult experience of shared history of the two nations, the Israel nation and the Palestinian nation, we can learn one important thing between two brothers: when one's fate is bad, the fate is also bad of the second. Only when it is good for one, it will be, with God's help, good for its double. Little Jewish children know the famous story, the hadith of the man who came to the head of the Jewish sages and asked him to teach him the principle of the Jewish religion while he was standing on one foot. In one sentence, the sage taught him, love your neighbor exactly how you would love yourself. From this hadith, which summarized the main principle of our religion, it's possible to learn that just as Jews have obtained a free and thriving state from Allah the Exalted, respected in the world, and just as we obtained from Allah the Exalted a state with Jerusalem as its capital, our neighbor will also obtain a state with its capital as Jerusalem. If both nations will be fortunate to stone the cursed Satan who stimulates war and hate, and establish Jerusalem as a capital of peace of Israel and Palestine, there will be, God willing, Jerusalem the capital of peace for the whole world. Coexistence under Palestinian sovereignty. Froman opposed the forced eviction of Jewish settlers from their homes in the settlements in the West Bank, and advocated that the state of Israel withdraw from the West Bank and Gaza, yet leave the settlements and Israeli Jewish residents in place under Palestinian sovereignty. He claimed that, if Israel withdraws from Tekoa and most residents leave, he will nonetheless stay because of his love of the land of Israel. But what matters is the holiness of this land. I prefer to live here in the future Palestine than leave to live in an Israeli state. He was a strong opponent of Israel's unilateral disengagement from Gaza. In August 2005, prior to the implementation of the disengagement plan, he moved with his family to Gana Etal and Gush Katif in order to show support for the residents being evicted. Froman supported the Palestinian Authority's efforts to attain statehood recognition at the United Nations on September 20, 2011, and said that the establishment of the Palestinian state will benefit the peace process and Israel. Personal life. Froman was born in 1945 in Galilee, Mandate, Palestine. He was married to educator and artist Hadassah Froman, and the couple had 10 children. Upon being diagnosed with colorectal cancer in 2010, Froman declared that he would add High Shalom Living Peace to his last name and rededicate his life to peace and coexistence between Jews and Palestinians. Despite treatment by both conventional and natural means, he died on the evening of March 4, 2013, at the age of 67. His funeral in Tekoa on March 5, 2013, lasting 4 hours, was filled with music and poetry, and was attended by thousands of people of all political and religious ideologies. Legacy. Froman was memorialized by Peace Now, a left-wing advocacy group, as well as by David Pearl, council head of Gush Etzion. Rabbi Reem Hakahan, dean of the Othniel Yeshiva, delivered a lengthy eulogy in his honor, entitled "A Holy Man Was in Our Beth Midrash." Froman's activism, bringing religious settlers in the West Bank into contact with their Palestinian neighbors, has been continued in part by his student Rabbi Hanan Schlesinger and his organization Roots Judah Shorashim. Works. Froman did not publish any of his own books during his lifetime. Posthumously, his teachings have been collected in several volumes. See also. Teachers' influences. Colleagues' partners.
You're not going to read these guys. Whatevs. Why do these guys have such fucked up beards?
Steam Salts originally published. Aiden Even Israel Steam Salts, Hebrew, July 11, 1937, August 7, 2020, was an Israeli Chabad rabbi, teacher, philosopher, social critic, author, translator and publisher. Steam Salts originally published the Talmud, the Steam Salts edition in modern Hebrew, with a running commentary to facilitate learning. It was subsequently translated into English, French, Russian, and Spanish. Beginning in 1989, Steam Salts published several tractates in Hebrew and English of the Babylonian, Bavli Talmud in an English Hebrew edition. The first volume of a new English Hebrew edition, the Koran Talmud Bavli, was released in May 2012, and has since been brought to completion. Steam Salts was a recipient of the Israel Prize for Jewish Studies, 1988, the President's Medal, 2012, and the Yakir Yerushalayim Prize, 2017. Steam Salts died in Jerusalem on August 7, 2020, from acute pneumonia. Biography. Aiden Steam Salts was born in Jerusalem on July 11, 1937, to Avraham Steam Salts and Leah N.E. Krakowitz. His father was a great-grandson of the first Slonimer Rebbe, Avram Weinberg, and was a student of Hillel Zeitlin. Avraham and Leah Steam Salts met through Zeitlin. They immigrated to Mandatory Palestine in 1924. Avraham Steam Salts, a devoted communist and member of Lehi, went to Spain in 1936 to fight with the international brigades in the Spanish Civil War. Aiden was born the following year. Steam Salts became a Baal Teshuvah during his teenage years, encouraged by Rabbi Shmuel Elazar Heilprin, Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshivas Torah Sem Sabad, while studying mathematics, physics, and chemistry at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. He also pursued rabbinical studies at Yeshivas Tanchei Temimim in Lod and studied with Dr. Eliezer and Shnirayahu Noach Sassenkin. After graduation, he established several experimental schools following an unsuccessful attempt to establish a Neo-Hasidic community in the Negev. At the age of 24, he became Israel's youngest school principal. In 1965, he founded the Israel Institute for Talmudic Publications and began his work on the Talmud, including translation into Hebrew, English, Russian and other languages. The Steam Salts editions of the Talmud include translation from the original Aramaic and a comprehensive commentary. Steam Salts completed his Hebrew edition of the Babylonian Talmud in November 2010, and Koran Publishers Jerusalem became his publisher. While not without criticism, such as by Jacob Neusner in 1998, the Steam Salts edition is widely used throughout Israel, the United States, and the world. Steensaltz's classic work on Kabbalah, The 13-Petaled Rose, was first published in 1980 and now appears in 8 languages. In all, Steensaltz authored some 60 books and hundreds of articles on subjects including Talmud, Jewish mysticism, Jewish philosophy, sociology, historical biography, and philosophy. Many of these works were translated into English by his close friend, Yehuda Hanegbi. His memoir biography on the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, was published by Maggid Books, 2014. Continuing his work as a teacher and spiritual mentor, Steensaltz joined the original faculty of the non-denominational Pardes Institute of Jewish Studies in Jerusalem in 1972, along with David Hartman, Eliezer Schweid, Menachem Froman, Dov Berkovitz, and others. He established Yeshivat Maker Chaim alongside rabbis Menachem Froman and Shimon Gershon Rosenberg in 1984 and Yeshiva in 1999. He also served as president of the Shefa Middle and High Schools. He has served as scholar in residence at the Woodrow Wilson International Center for Scholars in Washington, D.C., and the Institute for Advanced Study in Princeton. His honorary degrees include doctorates from Yeshiva University, Ben-Gurion University of the Negev, Bar-Ilan University, Brandeis University, and Florida International University. Steensaltz was also Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshivat Hester Tekoa. Being a follower of Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson of Chabad, he went to help Jews in the Soviet Union assisting Shabbat Shloshim, Emissaries, Network. In 1995, the chief rabbi of Russia, Adolf Shayevich, gave Steensaltz the title of Duchovny Rabbin, spiritual rabbi, a historic Russian title that indicated that he was the spiritual mentor of Russian Jewry. In this capacity, Steensaltz traveled to Russia and the Soviet Union once each month from his home in Jerusalem. During his time in the former Soviet Union, he founded the Jewish University, both in Moscow and St. Petersburg. The Jewish University is the first degree-granting institution of Jewish studies in the former Soviet Union. In 1991, on Schneerson's advice, he changed his family name from Steensaltz to Even Israel, Stone of Israel in English. Schneerson suggested the name Even Melach, Salt Stone in English, as recorded in his meeting with the Rebbe in 1990. Besides Chabad, Steensaltz was also inspired by the teachings of Menachem Mendel of Kodz. He was in close contact with the fifth Jerry Rebbe, Yisrael Alter, and his brother and successor, Simcha Bunim Alter. Steensaltz took a cautious approach to interfaith dialogue. During a visit of a delegation of Roman Catholic cardinals in Manhattan in January 2004, he said that, "You do not have to raise over expectations of a meeting, as it doesn't signify in itself a breakthrough. However, the opportunity for cardinals and rabbis to speak face to face is valuable. It's part of a process in which we can talk to each other in a friendly way, and called for a theological dialogue that asks the tough questions, such as whether Catholicism allows for Jews to enter eternal paradise." Steensaltz and his wife lived in Jerusalem until his death and had 3 children and many grandchildren and great-grandchildren. In 2016, Steensaltz suffered a stroke, leaving him unable to speak. His son, Rabbi Menachem, Mini, Even Israel, is the executive director of the Steensaltz Center. Steensaltz's umbrella organization located in the Naglayot neighborhood of Jerusalem. Steensaltz died in Jerusalem on August 7, 2020, from acute pneumonia at the Sharp Tzedek Medical Center. He was hospitalized earlier in the week with a severe lung infection. His wife Sarah survived him, together with 3 children and 18 grandchildren. As an author, Steensaltz was a prolific author and commentator who wrote numerous books on Jewish knowledge, tradition and culture, and produced original commentaries on a huge portion of the Jewish canon, Tanakh, the Jewish Bible, the Babylonian Talmud, the Mishnah, the Mishneh Torah, Tanya, and Torah or Likutei Torah. His published works include: as a speaker, Steensaltz was invited to speak at the Aspen Institute for Humanistic Studies at Yale University in 1979. Prior to his stroke, he gave evening seminars in Jerusalem, which, according to Newsweek, usually lasted until 2 o'clock in the morning and attracted prominent politicians, such as the former Prime Minister Levi Eshkol and former Finance Minister Pinchas Sapir. Awards and critical reception. On April 21, 1988, Steensaltz received the Israel Prize for Jewish Studies. On February 9, 2012, Steensaltz was honored by Israeli President Shimon Peres with Israel's first President's Prize alongside Zubin Mehta, Yuri Slonim, Henry Kissinger, Judy Felkar, and the Rashi Foundation. Steensaltz was presented with this award for his contribution to the study of Talmud, making it more accessible to Jews worldwide. Steensaltz was also presented with the 2012 Jewish Book Award in the category of Modern Jewish Thought and Experience by the Jewish Book Council for his commentary, translation, and notes in the Koran Babylonian Talmud. The Modern Jewish Thought and Experience Award was awarded on January 15, 2013, in memory of Joy Ungerleider Meyerson by the Dora Foundation. On May 22, 2017, Jerusalem Mayor Nir Barkat visited Steensaltz at his home to present him with the Yakir Yerushalayim, Worthy Citizen of Jerusalem, medal. This medal of achievement was awarded to Steensaltz for his writing and translating work. On June 10, 2018, Steensaltz was honored at a gala dinner at the Orient Hotel in Jerusalem for his pedagogical achievements throughout a lifetime dedicated to Jewish education. A limited edition version of the Steensaltz Humash was presented to the attendees of this event. Public reception. Academic criticism. Jacob Neusner published an attack on the reference guide in 1998, strongly disagreeing with several claims in the guide. In what was an overall favorable review, Dr. Jeremy Brown notes that the Koran Talmud Bavli contains some inaccurate scientific information, such as identifying Ursa Major as a star and describing polycythemia vera as a disease causing excessive bleeding from the gums and from ordinary cuts. Aharon Feldman penned a lengthy critical review of the Steensaltz Talmud contending that the work is marked by an extraordinary number of inaccuracies stemming primarily from misreadings of the sources. It fails to explain those difficult passages which the reader would expect it to explain, and it confuses him with notes which are often irrelevant, incomprehensible, and contradictory. Feldman says he fears that an intelligent student utilizing the Steensaltz Talmud as his personal instructor might in fact conclude that Talmud in general is not supposed to make sense. Furthermore, writes Feldman, the Steensaltz Talmud gives off the impression that the Talmud is intellectually flabby, inconsistent, and often trivial. Haredi reaction and ban. Publication of the Steensaltz Hebrew translation of the Talmud in the 1960s received endorsements from prominent rabbis including Moshe Feinstein and Ovadia Yosef. However, in 1989, when the English version appeared, Steensaltz faced a fierce backlash from many leading rabbis in Israel such as Harav Elazar Shach, Harav Yosef Shalom Eliashib, Harav Eliezer Waldenberg, Harav Nassim Karelitz, Harav Chaim Pinchas Scheinberg, and Harav Shmuel Wasner, who harshly condemned his work and other publications, branding him a heretic. Rav Shach was at the forefront of a campaign which banned all his works, believing that his literary and psychological explanations of biblical characters and events rendered them heretical. He also slated his translation of the Talmud, describing it as being written in the style of a secular book causing any trace of holiness and faith to vanish. Waldenberg wrote that he was shocked to see the way in which which Steensaltz described the patriarchs and Talmudic sages, writing that the works had the power to poison the souls of those who read them, striking a more conciliatory tone in the controversy. However, were the Jerer Hasidim who praised his works and commended him on his willingness to amend various passages which could have been misconstrued. After the Jerusalem-based Editoritis limited the ban to 3 books, Steensaltz publicly apologized for his error and offered to refund anyone who had bought the books. The ban nevertheless caused thousands of schools and individuals to discard the Steensaltz Talmud, with Rabbi Avigdor Nebenzahl ordering all copies to be placed in Genesha. This led to more liberal Jewish movements placing adverts in the press asking for the edition to be donated to their institutions instead. For his part, Steensaltz countered that much of the criticism he faced was rooted in opposition to the Chabad Lubavitch community with which he was affiliated. Praise. While certain members of the Haredi community may have opposition to Steensaltz's works, other Jewish leaders, rabbis, and authors have spoken or written about their appreciation for Steensaltz's unique educational approach. Rabbi John Rossov of Temple Israel of Hollywood featured Opening the Tanya, Learning the Tanya, and Understanding the Tanya on his list of the top 10 recommended Jewish books. These volumes are written by Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi, the founder of the Chabad Lubavitch movement, and include commentary by Steensaltz. Through reading the Tanya, readers can explore all aspects of the central text of Chabad movement. Rabbi Eli Konfer, a Rosh Yeshiva and the CEO of Meccan Hadar Yeshiva, discussed his gratitude for Steensaltz's Global Day of Jewish Learning and the opportunity created by this online platform for learning and creating a deeper connection to Torah, other Jewish texts, and Jews worldwide. Rabbi Pinchas Elash, who studied under Steensaltz, notes that Steensaltz is a world scholar who revolutionized the Jewish landscape through his commentary, other writings, and educational organizations. In 1988, secular Israeli historian Zeev Katz compared Steensaltz's importance to that of Rashi and Maimonides, 2 Jewish scholars of medieval times. In addition, Ilana Kirshen, an American-Israeli author, wrote that Steensaltz's ability to bring the historical world of the Talmudic stages to life created an enjoyable Jewish learning experience for her when she was intensely studying Talmud. See also.
Alright, Gamaliel, what's that person's next? Alright, well, you read a lot more of those. You reviewed a lot more of those than you thought you would. Yeah, it's tight. Alright, next up. DIY. Say bye to Abby. And not too shabby, you fucking Abby. The fucking. The Yadushin. No one knows who these people are. Yahaduton.
Years ago, our ancestors left Egypt in such a hurry. There was no time for their dough to rise and become leavened, so they only had matzah to eat on their journey into the desert. Since the Exodus until today, we commemorate the miracle of leaving Egypt with the mitzvah of eating matzah after nightfall on the 14th of Nisan every year. How do we make these matzahs? Come and see. With the mitzvah of eating matzah after nightfall on the 14th of Nisan every year. How do we make these matzahs? Come and see. Any wheat that comes into contact with water may turn into chametz. Therefore, we are careful to watch the wheat from the harvesting so that it doesn't get wet. The wheat kernels are ground into flour and stored in an airtight room, protected from any dampness. Water is drawn the night before the baking and is stored in a cool place overnight. This is the reason for its name, Mayim Shalanu, since Shalanu means that which stayed overnight. This cooled water slows down the rising process. Contrary to bread, which is made from a variety of ingredients, such as eggs, sugar, and oil, the matzah's ingredients are only flour and water. Therefore, it is called poor bread because of its few ingredients. Now that we have the special water and dry flour, we can proceed with the baking. Let's time it and see how the bakers accomplish this task. The flour and water are mixed and kneaded quickly. Here is the dough. Now it will be kneaded again. This dough is being worked on constantly, so it has no opportunity to rise. This perforator pierces little holes in the dough, ensuring it to remain thin and baked well. The dough is now ready for the oven. The oven must be extremely hot, enabling it to bake quickly. How fast? Let's count together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wow, that's fast. Stop the timer. 3 minutes and we have fresh, kosher matzah. So every year on the Seder night, the matzah reminds us of the miraculous history of the Jewish nation. In order to fulfill the commandment of matzah, at least 1/3 of a matzah must be eaten after nightfall within 4 minutes. We can learn about the unique qualities of a matzah from the Zohar, where it is called the food of faith and food of healing. Eating matzah on Pesach strengthens our Jewish faith and keeps us healthy. Have a kosher and happy Passover.
All right, that's tight. What are we gonna review today? Tell a story. No, both. I don't know what kind of fucking story you want. Why don't you just talk about what happened with that guy? I know he doesn't know Elvis is the largest statue in Israel. But like, yeah, I had a teacher's asked that. Is he cool? Very cool. Do you like him? Yeah. Is there anything you don't like about him? Nope. Really? Dude, I love that he fucking loves the Blues Brothers. That's tight. Alright, well, that's a cool story, Rabbi. Dude, you gotta do something. What are you gonna do? Why is it sometimes called Lubavitch and sometimes called Chabad? Explain the names and when each is used, and are they used interchangeably? Are they? Yeah, I mean, sometimes I do differently. Great question. When people use Lubavitch, sometimes spelled Lubavitch, Lubavitch, etc., and Chabad, they're talking about the same movement, but the two names come from totally different origins and emphasize different aspects. Chabad is an acronym for wisdom, understanding, knowledge. I should probably grab that. All right. These are three intellectual faculties in Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism. The name was coined by Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Leyde, the founder of the movement in the late 1700s. Are you hungry? Yeah. Do you like Hava Nagila? Yeah, it's actually not a bad song. I hate about everything. I hate religious music, but I like that one. Because a branch of Hasidism emphasizes intellectual compassion, intellectual contemplation, deep understanding of God, using the mind to influence emotion, unlike some early Hasidic works that emphasize fiery emotional worship. Chabad stressed thinking your way into Devikut, cleaving to God. So Chabad refers to the ideological and mystical system. Lubavitch comes from a town of Lyubovitchy in Russia. The movement was headquartered there for about 100 years. Early 1800s and 1970s. The word Lubavitch is Russian means city of brotherly love, which Chabad folks love pointing out. So Lubavitch refers to the geographic center where the movement flourished. So why two names? Think of it like this. Chabad is the philosophy, Lubavitch is the dynasty community. Over time, instead of calling the group Lubavitchers over time, outsiders started calling the group Lubavitchers because that's where they were based. Today, how are they used? Chabad, used when referring to the theology, the outreach organization, the global movement, official name of institutions, Chabad of Boca Raton. After the leadership of Menachem Mendel Schneerson, the term Chabad became dominant globally, especially for outreach. Lubavitch, used when referring to the Hasidic group socially, the dynasty historically, the Hasidim themselves. He's a Lubavitcher. In very traditional contexts, you might hear Chabad Lubavitch. That's the full formal name of the movement. Are they interchangeable? Practically, yes. Technically, Chabad is the intellectual system, Lubavitch is the historical community, but in normal conversation, they refer to the same movement. Bonus nuance. There are other Chabad branches historically, like Chabad Kapust, Chabad Nishin, but only Lubavitch, but only the Lubavitch branch survived long-term leadership succession. So today, Chabad basically means Chabad Lubavitch. Yeah, why does some like saying Lubavitch versus Chabad? Hey, check this one out, kids. Push, perhaps. Good. Now that's going into sociology, not just terminology. Why do some Litvaks with Lithuanian not Hasidic Jews say Lubavitch instead of Chabad? It's not random. It signals something subtle. Historical framing. It's just another Hasidic card. For Litvaks, Hasidism was historically viewed as a movement they opposed sometimes fiercely. The major opponent of early Hasidism was Elijah of Vilna, also known as the Vilna Gaon. From that perspective, Chabad sounds like a philosophical system. Lubavitch sounds like a Hasidic court with a Russian town. Calling it Lubavitch subtly frames it as one Hasidic dynasty among many, like Belz, Satmar, Vischins, instead of a universal intellectual Jewish philosophy. It keeps it in its box. Resistance to the branding shift. Over the 20th century, especially under Menachem Mendel Schneerson, the movement aggressively expanded outreach worldwide. The word Chabad became a global brand, a global brand, campus centers, shluchim, emissaries, public menorah lightings. To some Litvaks, Chabad feels like a marketing term. Lubavitch feels old school and precise, so saying Lubavitch can be a subtle way of saying let's not pretend this is generic Judaism. It's a Hasidic group. The intellectual the intellectual claim. Remember, Chabad means Hokmah, Bina, Da'at. Wisdom, understanding, knowledge. The name implies we represent the intellectual approach to Avodat Hashem, service of God. Some Litvaks who pride themselves on Talmudic intellectualism may find that ironic, so saying Lubavitch avoids validating that framing. It sidesteps the chronological branding cultural marker. In some yeshivish Litvish circles, Chabad, what they call themselves, Lubavitch, what we call them. It's not necessarily hostile, sometimes just inherited language. Older American Litvaks especially grew up hearing Lubavitcher Rebbe, not Chabad Rebbe, when the reverse happens. Interestingly, Chabad insiders almost always prefer Chabad. Lubavitch feels old European, less mission driven, more court based. Modern Shulchim will brand something Chabad of Scottsdale, not Lubavitch of Scottsdale. The word Chabad universalizes, the word Lubavitch particulari- particularizes. Bottom line, same movement. But Chabad is a philosophy, global mission, self identity, Lubavitch, historical court, plus external label, plus sometimes social subtle distancing. Yo, dog, what do we say to the argument that Chabad is not Judaism? It Many people hold that it has a Messiah story that is overemphasized, and they don't do conversions traditionally. Isn't that a different religion? I'm getting you mean yeah. The argument that you're describing usually goes like this: Chabad overemphasizes the messianic figure and doesn't do conversions normally. That sounds like a different religion. Let's break this down. The Messiah overemphasis claim after the passage of Menachem Mendel Schneerson, a segment of Chabad followers continue to believe he is Mashiach. Hey, maybe everybody could be a Mashiach in their generation, and some even believe he will return. Really, yeah, we'll revivify that motherfucker, but he did. Critics argue maybe he's frozen or something, who knows. The resemblance of other style messianism, it centers one figure excessively, the same that some rhetoric cross lines. But here's the key distinction. Mainstream Chabad position the Rebbe could have been Mashiach. He's not worshipped. No new theology, no change to Chalcha, Jewish law. In Judaism, believing a deceased person might be a Mashiach is unusual. But it's not outside classical sources. There are Talmudic discussions about Mashiach potentially coming from the dead. Sanhedrin 98b. So the belief may be controversial, but controversy does not equal new religion. Is there worship of Rebbe? If there were prayer to him, replacing God, changing the Shema, adding new scripture, then yes, that would be outside Judaism. But mention Chabad, Daven's prayer is the same siddur. Keep the same Chalcha, accept the same Torah. Does not add theological dogma. Hyperbolic praise of the Rebbe is not new in Hasidism. In Hasidism, you see extreme logic. You see extreme language in Breslov, Satmar, etc. 2. The line between devotion and theology, deviation matters, and the overwhelming majority of poskim halakhic authorities have not ruled Chabad to be outside of Judaism. The conversion argument. You mentioned they don't do conversion. Chabad generally does not seek converts. Is cautious about accepting converts. Often refers conversion candidates to establish Beit Din, rabbinical courts. This is not unique. Many Orthodox communities are cautious about conversion. Not aggressively pursuing converts is actually very Jewish. Others expand via conversion. Judaism historically does not. What would make something a new religion? Historically, Judaism considers something outside when it denies Torah from Sinai, adds new scripture, changes core theology, alters halakha fundamentally, introduces worship of a human figure. Chabad does not. Chabad does none of those as a movement. Even its critics, Litvish, Yeshivish, Satmar, etc., generally agree they're mistaken, they're extreme, they're problematic, but they are not Jewish. That distinction matters. The sociological factor, because Chabad is highly visible, charismatic, mission-oriented, Rebbe-centered, it feels more movement-like than other Orthodox groups that can psychologically resemble sectarian religion models people are familiar with, but structurally and halakhically it remains within Orthodox Judaism. The honest internal Jewish debate. This is internal debate, but the messianic slogans, public yechi chants, theological language, some gedolim, great rabbis criticize aspects of it, but criticism inside of religion does not equal separation from it. Satmar and Brisk disagree violently on Zionism. That doesn't make one a different religion. Bottom line, calling Chabad not Judaism is a polemical statement, usually emotionally driven, not supported by mainstream halakhic consensus. You can argue overemphasis, imbalance, sociological uniqueness, but the core structure, Torah, mitzvot, halakha, monotheism remains intact if you want. All right, so that's a cool story, dog. So it's in a different religion. You tell me, you're fired. Go fuck yourself. Is it? It's different. Is it? Yeah, but I like it. Is it Judaism? It's Chabad. It's like that fucking thing about HBO. It's not television. It's HBO.